Mangaroos Tutoring Services, Mathematics Classes.
Simple interest. What is simple interest? Simple interest is a term used when borrowing money, buying something on credit, saving money, or investing money. This monetary arrangement is normally organized by a financial institution, such as a bank. When borrowing money, it is a charge issued for the use of money. In the case of a loan, the borrower is receiving money from the lender in advance. So money is given in advance, and you have to pay an interest for that money that you are getting that is not yours. Okay, moving along now. The lender receives an interest from the borrower. When investing or saving, the investor receives an interest. So for example, if you put your money into your savings account in a bank, you should get an interest over time. Okay, so again, moving along, the institute gives the investor an interest for keeping or investing their money. Simple interest is usually based on a fixed percentage of the original amount borrowed or invested. That's the norm, but it's not limited to that. The amount borrowed, saved, or invested is called the principal amount. The repayment period, usually stated in time, is called years. And then we also have the interest rate, which we will learn about later. So pause the video and take down these definitions. All right, let's continue. So let's try some questions. We have example 1. Dean borrowed $50,000 at 10% interest from Republic Bank Limited. He has to repay this loan in 3 years. What is the simple interest that he has to repay? So the principal amount is $50,000, so we identify that the borrowed amount is the principal. The interest rate is 10%, and the loan period is 3 years. So the formula for simple interest is principal times rate times time over 100. So simple interest is really how much more you are going to pay back. So you borrowed 50,000. Of course, you have to repay the 50,000, but not exactly 50,000. You have to pay 50,000 plus the simple interest. Right, so we multiply the principal by the percent interest rate, multiply by the time in years, and then we divide by 100. So when we do our multiplication and division, we will get $15,000. So once you understand that, you can go ahead and try question 1. All right, let's correct question 1. So again, we identified the principal, the rate, the time, until we can determine the simple interest. Principal, rate, and time. 30,000 times 7.5 multiplied by 8. So why do we divide by 100? Well, that's because the interest rate, in this case 7.5, is percent, and percent is normally written as over 100. Right, so when we do our calculation, we will get 18,000. All right, let's try another question. Okay, so example 2. RBC gave Stephanie a loan of $100,000. She has to repay this loan over 4 years at an interest rate of 5% per annum. How much would she have to repay in total at the end of the 4 years? So usually when you take a loan, you will have to repay the amount you borrowed plus the simple interest. So what they're asking for is the principal plus the simple interest. In this case, the principal is the borrowed amount. So let's work out the simple interest. So the simple interest is the principal by the rate by the time, 100,000 multiplied by 5% multiplied by 4 years, all over 100, and we will get 20,000. So we are going to add 20,000 back to the original amount borrowed to get a total. Alright, so that was simple. So go ahead and take down example 2 and then try question 2. Pause the video until you are finished with that. Alright, let's correct question 2. Right, so as we can see, question 2 is similar to example 2 rather. A bank offers a loan of $75,000 that is to be repaid over a period of 7 years. Interest is charged at a rate of 10% per annum. What is the total sum of money the customer will repay on such a loan? So we need to work out the simple interest first and then add that to the principal amount. 75,000 was borrowed at 10% for 7 years. So when we work this out, we get 52,500. We add it back to the original amount that was borrowed, and we get our total, which is $127,500. All right, are you ready for the next question? All right, let's continue. Example 3. Right, so in this case, instead of borrowing money, Hannah invested money. So she is going to earn more money at the end. So she invested 40,000 at 12.5% per year over 2 years. So we work out a simple interest the same way. Principal by rate by time. So her simple interest is $10,000, which is good. So the total to be paid, or the total earned, well, I shouldn't say earned would be simple interest. So the total that she will get in return would be the principal amount plus the interest, which is 50,000. Alright, so question 3 is similar to example 3, so you can attempt that now. Okay, let's go to the answer. Right, so question 3, again, similar to example 3, we find the simple interest, and then, so let's see, then we continue. How much interest accrues over a period of 5 years? Okay, so in this case, we only worked out the interest, not the total. We only had to work out the interest. Okay, next, example 4. Smith placed $75,000 in a fixed deposit account for 5 years at Williamsdale Bank. He receives an interest of 3% annually. How much would Smith have at the end of the 3 years in that savings account? So he will have the $75,000 plus the interest that accrued. So principal by rate by time, principal time rate. This will give you $11,250. So the total he would have would be the principal amount plus the interest, which is $86,250. Right, so you all can try question 4, which is similar. All right, let's move on. Answers for question 4. We find the interest and we add it to the total. All right, next we have example 5. Okay, so we won't bother to do this one. Right, so now we have example 6. Determining the rate given the other numbers. So example 6, determine the rate given at a simple interest as $16,000. The amount borrowed is $100,000 and the time to repay the loan is 4 years. So the formula for rate, so let's take a look at how we got the formula. So we know that simple interest is equal to principal by rate by time. So if we were to make rate the subject of the formula, we will move time across to the side and principal across to the side. So how do we do that? Simple interest is on the same side it was. Right, and don't forget we have this over 100. Right, so let's start by moving the 100 across to this side. Since the equation is divided by 100, when we move it across to the left side, we'll get multiplied by 100. Right, so 100 times the simple interest all over. The principal will go below because it will become divided by principal, and the time will also come below, multiplied by time. So the principal and the time will come below. Right, so let's go back to the question. So now that we know rate is simple interest times 100 over principal by time, we were given a simple interest and we were given the principal and the time. So we can easily multiply and divide to get our answer, which in this case is 4%. All right, so go ahead and try question 6, which is very similar. Let's check our answers. So again, we are determining the rate, which we know is simple interest multiplied by 100 all over principal by time. So the simple interest was given, the principal, and the time. So we can just input those values here and determine the rate. Easy calculations. Okay, so let's continue. So now we have another question with interest rate. Heather invested, so this time it's invested, not borrowed. Right, so remember principal can be an amount borrowed, saved, or invested. So we have a different scenario this time. We are still finding interest rate. Heather invested $300,000 over 4 years. So we need to determine the interest rate. They told her that she got a simple interest of $72,000. So interest rate will be simple interest, which is $72,000, multiplied by 100, divided by principal, which is $300,000, multiplied by time, which is 4 years. So we work that out and we'll get 6%. Right, again, similar to the last two questions that we did. So you all can try question 7 and this should be easier to follow now. All right, let's resume. Right, so the difference is we were given the total in this one and we were given the simple interest. So we simply take we were given the total and the principal. So we have to take the principal away from the total, and we will get a simple interest. So 250,000 was invested, and the total that was given at the end of the period was 350,000. So 100,000 was earned. Right, so now that we have that cleared up, we can plug the numbers into the formula. Interest rate is simple interest 100,000 by 100 over principal, which was given to be 300. That there's an error there. So the principal is 250,000. So let's correct that. Right, so let me just recalculate that number and see. Oh, that's an easier number to work with. So that answer is 10%. All right, let's continue. Right, so instead of rate, we have time, which is, again, similar in terms of the formula. So we need a simple interest, we need a principal, and we need a rate in order to determine the time. So once we have those things, which we do in this example, we are simply going to plug it into the equation and solve. Do we have the simple interest? Yes. Do we have the time? No, we have to determine the time. Do we have the interest rate? Yes. And do we have the principal? Yes. So we simply put those in and we will get 0.5 years. That's your answer. All right, so go ahead and try question 8 for me, please. You will unpause the video when you are finished so we can correct. All right, let's continue. Question 8. So we forgot the line. Let's put the line in. Okay, so we have simple interest, we have the principal, and we have the rate. So we can determine the years, which is 6 years. Right, so now we have to determine the principal. We can see in example 9 that we have the simple interest, we have the rate, and we have the time. So let's just drop those numbers in, plug them in, work them out. Right, so far we can see principal, rate, and time have a similar formula, which is simple interest multiply by 100 over the other two terms that we have. So to either be principal by rate, or rate by time, or principal by time, depending on what you have and what you need. All right, so that should be straightforward. So go ahead and try question 9 now. And let's resume. Let's correct. Alright, so we don't have the answer, but we can work it out now. So what we know so far is that principal is equal to simple interest by 100 all over rate by time. So we are just going to copy this, paste it in here. Right, so for this question, what do we have? We have the simple interest. We don't have the principal, of course, because we need to find that. We have the interest rate and we have the time. So that's 6,300 multiplied by 100 all over 6% by 3 years. Right, so we can work those out. So 6,300 multiplied by 100 divided by 18. That will give us $35,000. So the principal amount is $35,000. Right, so the student loan at Shelter was $35,000. All right, so let's take a look at example 10. So example 10 is not difficult. We know how to work out simple interest because we did that before. The only difference with this question is that we have to determine how much is paid monthly. So let's read the question. Gary borrows $150,000 at an interest rate of 6%. He has to repay this loan in 5 years. If Gary has to repay the loan in equal monthly installments, how much would he have to deposit every month? So we need to first determine the simple interest. Principal by rate by time over 100. Principal by rate by time will give us $45,000 interest. We add that to the principal to get a total, and we need to determine how many months is the period. So the period is 5 years. So 5 years will give us 60 months. So we divide the total that we have to repay by the amount of months that we have to repay it. Right, and that will give us $3,250. Right, so below we have another question just like this one. So take down example 10 and then pause the video and try question 10. All right, let's continue. Right, so we don't have the answer for question 10. That's okay, we can work that out now. So again, we need to work out the simple interest. So we know that simple interest is equal to principal by rate by time all over 100 right, so the principal is 75,000. So that's 75 by 2 by 4 all over 100. So we can cancel 2 of the zeros below with 2 on top. 2 4s are 8. So 750 multiplied by 8 will give us $6,000. So we need to add that $6,000 back to the principal amount to get a total. And that will give us $81,000. So we just need to divide this by the amount of months that we have to repay, which is 4 years. 4 years is how many months? Yes, 12 multiplied by 4 is 48. And we will get our equal monthly installments. Right, so your answer is $1,687.50. Alright, so we are good to go with this topic.
Thank you for watching. If you have found this video to be helpful, please feel free to contact us for more information about our classes.